Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. This is going to be a bit of a slightly looser affair. Jeremy and I are really excited to be here to be able to talk to you about some of the things that we've released over the last little while. And Jeremy's going to show you some cool stuff to do with those. There is the chat tab, obviously. Hi, Katrina. There's obviously the questions tab as well. Generally, the questions tab is a bit more so. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. So as we're going through, if you've got any questions, drop them in the chat. And g'day Claire, how's it going? Nice to see you. We've got a few more people, and generally what happens with these things is they register and then they view it on demand. So to all of those who are watching it at 2 in the morning and with a bowl of rices, hello, nice to have you along. So as I said, it's myself, Jason. I look after the partner channel at RocketSpark, and the gentleman sitting next to me is Jeremy Johnson, who is our head of product. Jeremy has a wealth of design experience and is just a generally around cool guy. So yeah, so we're going to crack into it. What are we going to start with today?
A lot of mobile stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, starting with the mobile text and column stuff. Do you want me to dive into it, or you?
Let's crack into it.
Okay, cool.
Do you wanna share the screen? Should we do the screen?
Yeah.
Sure.
Screen.
Can
you do that, or do I do that?
Maybe.
Maximize.
Can you do it? Oh, look at that.
Cool. Can everyone see that all good?
Hopefully you can also tell that we haven't scripted this session either. So yeah. So tell us about the mobile stuff, Jeremy.
Cool. So I guess the first thing that I'd say is the best technique that I've found for making sure that the mobile site is looking really good is to actually check it. I think where we get caught out at RocketSpark for our own stuff that we design is just forgetting to check mobile. So yeah, it's just once you just make sure that you're actually checking all of those key pages, and then put on your designer's hat and think about what it is that you're wanting to solve. Is it, are you drawn into the text that maybe just looks oversized for mobile, or the breakpoint is like one word on its own line, or whatever. Or another really common one that I'll see is text that's just going all the way to the edge of the mobile phone, which just needs some breathing room down the sides. Sometimes the grid mobile settings are set where the text is quite large and sort of wrapping heaps of times inside a little box, or it's 2 or 3 columns on mobile. So
yeah,
what I'm saying at a high level here, sort of glossing over a bunch of different areas where there can be issues with mobile, is sort of follow the issue. So identify the issue that you're wanting to improve, and then tweak it and adjust it until you achieve the right result. But if you're not actually checking it, you're unaware of those issues. So
for sure. And from a technical standpoint, if you're not adjusting, especially the mobile spacing, it takes the desktop spacing. Is that correct?
Now it does. So when we released preset stacks, I think was when we made that change, so that when you adjust the desktop spacing, it's leaving the mobile spacing as the default settings. But historically, if you adjusted the desktop settings, it would adjust the mobile settings to match that. And that was because you couldn't edit mobile independently of desktop. So you might have a site that you designed a year ago where you had some quite extreme spacing on desktop, and it maybe looks a little odd on mobile. So that might need tweaking now. You can now go in and use that mobile specific spacing to adjust that. But if you're creating a brand new site or adding stacks to an existing site, then by default, when you add that content and edit it, it should, if you edit the desktop, the mobile will take on the site-wide settings, but the site-wide font size settings for mobile could still be a bit out of whack based on what you'd historically set.
Yeah, fair call. Fair call. And just for you guys tuning in, I think it's also a good opportunity to reconnect with some clients that you might not have spoken to for a little while, and say, hey, RocketSpark have got this new mobile features. I can update your website to be more mobile friendly. Yeah, so good connection opportunity. So I'll swap the stream back so we can see what Jeremy's up to.
Cool. So one thing to note with the mobile optimizing side of things is when we created all of the preset stacks, we just made sure that they used all of the optimal mobile spacing and sizing and everything. So if you've got a stack, let's say like this one, that you could do before on desktop, but previously you couldn't have the mobile spacing, yeah, you can, using what we'll show today, you could go through and tweak that, but potentially a faster way could be just to, go add stack, find that kind of look in the preset stacks, add it, and the preset stacks will have the mobile looking good out of the box. Hopefully that shows us here. So yeah, the sizing, spacing is generally looking pretty good. And the thing you'll note here as well is you can actually see the image. So if I just jump back and I actually break this one. So an issue that I came up a little bit at launch is sites that look like this on mobile. So this looks good, but if so you might have seen this kind of look where you've got these slivers of photo above and below the box on mobile.
Yes.
So again, this is that historical kind of look. Because you couldn't adjust mobile independently, and so I actually helped one of the partners with a site at launch to fix this. And so actually I just got rid of either the top or the bottom internal spacing, and if you just make that really decent size, and the maximum here is 300, but you could make this, if you type this in, you can actually increase that.
Ah.
So I can make that 500. Sorry about my tickly.
You got a bit of a frog there. Just while you're sorting that out, who in the chat here knew that you could just manually type numbers in for spacing above beyond where the slider went to? A thumbs up for those that knew that, and a thumbs down for those that didn't. I'm going to do the old thumbs down because I didn't know. That's crazy.
So the other thing as well that the preset stacks have baked into them from a mobile point of view is that they the reverse column order has been set kind of sensibly. So generally we've tried to have the image first, the text second on mobile in the preset stack. So in this image on desktop, the text is on the left and the picture's on the right. But then on mobile, you'll see that the picture is first and the text is there. And I've done that by adjusting this spacing. So I could do the flip side of that here and do it at the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of showing which part of the image will look most photogenic below, because part of the image is going up behind this column background here. So it actually looked this is cool, but it probably looked a bit better being at the top. But you can also, so that wouldn't work for this one. So let me just save that here. So if I add a stack, okay, so we've got this one here, which is text on the left and picture on the right. And so if I jump into the mobile settings for that.
Is everyone following along okay? Everyone's all good so far? Thumbs up if we're good. I love this little emoji feature. This is new to Livestorms. It's pretty exciting.
So yeah, you see in this new stack they've added the pictures first, and then you've got the column here. So this is the two columns, and with the column wrapping, you can set that to 2 columns on mobile, which obviously looks horrific, and I'll show how to fix that later. If I jump back to 1 column, this reverse column order feature is really handy because what looks good on desktop might not look quite right on mobile. So this is good because you've got picture text, but let's say you find yourself in this situation where you've got picture, text, picture. That's where the reverse column order can be really handy, just to make the content that goes from column to column, once it's wrapping into 2 columns, a better contrast.
And especially if you've got quite an image heavy site, image, text, on desktop, it's nice to have that consistency into that mobile experience.
Yes. So looking at this one, I kind of don't like the messiness of how this this text wraps onto 3 lines here. It's probably actually a little bit big for what it needs to be on mobile. So I'm just going to jump into the mobile specific stack font size controls here. So if I jump here, okay, so that's a medium heading in H2, and that's set at 41 pixels. So now that we've got...
Sorry, Jeremy. And again, just for those of you that might not know, what's really great with RocketSpark is as you mouse over the different heading or paragraphs, it shows you on the page which one it's referring to. Thank you. Sorry, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's a really handy feature that's right, Jason. So yeah, I can click here and I can adjust the size of this down. So I can get that to 2 lines. Actually, it's probably a little bit too small, so I could go that here. And I've just got quite a nice size for mobile there. Maybe I would want to size my paragraph text down a little. So let's say I reduce that down to 15 for mobile or whatever looks good there. But yeah, it just gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of getting that font sizing right on mobile, and that won't affect desktop. And if you don't set the mobile font sizes, it will just take the kind of influence from the desktop value until you override that.
That's right.
But if we jump into the mobile spacing, this is where you can start doing some really neat things for beautiful mobile design. So because this is a preset stack, the spacing is pretty good out of the box. But yeah, this is from some of those older sites that where the mobile spacing was tied to the desktop. This is sort of one of the more common issues we see where the text looks like this. It's going right to the hard edges of the phone, which, yeah, just doesn't look super professional. So you've got full fine tuning. So if you wanted to create, a really kind of luxurious, ultra spacious look on mobile, you've kind of got that option. Or if you've got a little bit more text, then you need to, be a bit more conservative with your usage of space. You've kind of got the full flexibility there.
That's right. And look, and everyone, a bit of a pro tip here is the mobile preview that we have is generally very, very good, but it doesn't always beat the real thing. So if you do have your phone handy, it's always good to check your work on your phone as you go too.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Cool. So if I jump into the 2 columns, so let's say I set this as 2 columns. So there's some situations where 2 columns on mobile just doesn't work. So this is probably too much text for that here. But so the other compromise that you need to make if you are wanting to go 2 columns is obviously 2 pictures side by side can work really nicely. If you've got, say, text below, like maybe a couple of words of text below each image or something like that. But if you do have headings like this, you do have to compromise on the size of the heading really just to make it all fit. So if I size this down here, I'm going to actually edit the amount of text there.
Just while Jeremy's doing that, any questions so far? Everyone's pretty happy with how we're ticking along? Cool. So straight away, this is looking a lot more sensible. The button is a little bit big, so I can jump in here and adjust the size of that down. So we don't have the preview of the button size, but that's something that we'd love to do later in terms of feature development. So if I save that and jump into reviewing the mobile design, so you see that button's a bit smaller there. Oh, nice. Yeah.
But if I want to jump into that again, and see, you'll see all I'm doing is just sort of massaging the design for mobile and just exploring the different options.
No, it's really cool, and it's good to get a good overview of what is possible. And I myself, I often forget about the mobile button sizes, so you can deal with some of those big honking buttons on mobile if you need to.
Yeah. So, and potentially you would delete that. But if I wanted to adjust this here, so the height of this image is effectively being set by the height of this content here. I can reduce that down as well. But if we look at, actually, I'll show another stack type.
Loving the preset stacks, by the way. Some brilliant little designs in there.
Cool. So with this design, we've got spacing all around the outside here on desktop. Just because we don't necessarily want this to be massive and sort of half off the screen. But something that you can do on mobile is potentially almost have a slightly different look on mobile by going fully edge to edge if you wanted to. So yeah, you'll see here, this is all one column. So if I actually know that's done with Grid Gallery, so that won't work there. I have to do a different stack. Bear with.
But team, we will be coming back to Grid Gallery, so stay tuned. Jeremy's going to be talking through some cool bits and pieces you can be doing with the new Grid Gallery features, including some of the text styling and the ability to throw a button on there, which is pretty cool.
Cool, so this is probably a better example. Right. We'll move on to Grid Gallery.
We'll move on to Grid Gallery. Like I said, folks, this is not the most scripted enterprise. We wanted to keep it fairly authentic and organic, and hopefully that's ticking those boxes.
Cool. So this is a preset stack that I added before that has a Grid Gallery baked into it. And you'll see, obviously, this doesn't look great. I've added some additional text here. But one of the big changes when we launched the updates to the Grid Gallery was the option to have two sets of text there. So you'll see on this one, I've got bags here and then shop. So with the secondary text, you have a few more options. You can do this underlined look, or you can do it as a button as well. And you can just delete the primary text if you just want the secondary text there.
Well, that's a good little hack. So you don't have to have both.
No, you don't have to have both. And the secondary text has those extra features, displays underlined, displays button, and this takes on the button styling of the stack-specific styling. So you could make this a really nice little small button.
Yeah. Just an outline.
Nice and compact.
Yeah.
And then in terms of this text, both the title text and the secondary text, you have letter spacing and line height options as well. So, which I think tracking in the print design world is what it's known as, but in the web context, it's letter spacing there. So it's just adjusting that tracking there between the characters, so you can go kind of set that to ridiculous levels if you want to.
And Katrina, if you're still watching, it means that designers are no longer going S space, H space, O space, P space, and destroying the SEO potential of those particular words.
Another little thing here, just a minor thing, but by adjusting the line height, obviously if this text went to 2 lines, it wouldn't look that great, but adjusting the line height, it also adjusts the distance of the line from the text. So a classic pure underline can look a little bit messy with the line actually hard up against the text. So just being able to give it a bit of breathing room can look nice and clean.
That's really cool. And look, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I know everyone in the chat has the same question: is are we going to be rolling out those sort of advanced text styling things around the rest of the Rocket Spark ecosystem?
Yes, we're working on it at the moment. So I don't have an exact time frame on that, but yeah, development has started on that, and so that'll be rolled out for headings. So letter spacing and line height for headings, paragraphs, and buttons as well. So yeah, that'll give heaps more options in terms of styling those typefaces.
I got you, Leah. I knew you'd ask that question.
One thing, obviously this is an older feature in terms of the Grid Gallery mobile settings, but it's probably worth just touching on, that Grid Gallery does have its own mobile wrapping options. Right. So this one here is set by default to 2 columns on mobile. just got loads there. And there's dedicated grid gallery mobile text sizes. So you might find some things that you have to adjust on the stack specific styling for mobile, and other things you might have to adjust with the grid gallery sizing. So yeah, this might feel a little bit big here. And so I could adjust the secondary text size to feel a little bit more kind of balanced on mobile. Actually, and this is a good example of what I was trying to show before, but I forgot what I was looking for. So you'll see here on mobile, you've got the space here, which kind of looks nice, but when size is limited on mobile, what you could do is actually reduce this column spacing right down to zeros, just to maximize the space that these images have on mobile.
So it's a full width view on mobile. For Grid Gallery.
But still 2 columns. So the 2 column is being set here in Grid Gallery. So if I save that, there's heaps of space around the outside here. And so if I go into the stack specific spacing, go width and spacing, desktop, there's heaps. And I can adjust that up and down, or I can go full width and adjust that up and down. But then if I go to mobile, then I can reduce that either to nothing. So it's just you're maximizing the size of those images on mobile, or I could make the exterior spacing match the column gap, if that was what I wanted to go for.
Yeah, and by column gap, Jeremy, you mean
that little white line down the middle.
That's
which
right.
is adjusted on the Grid Gallery settings. So we just jump back in here. That's this one here.
The gap. Yes. And then that applies to mobile, that same gap size.
Yes, yeah. That's set based on a pixel level rather than unlike almost everything else that is based on a rem or percentage sort of response level. Just because the gap's like that, you might want that exact sort of 2 pixel look.
Yeah.
You don't want it sort of adjusting itself at different step sizes. So yeah.
That's cool.
Um,
Are you feeling pretty comfortable with what we've kind of covered? Was there anything else you
I think that's everything that we'll cover.
These sessions aren't designed to be marathons, team. We just want to do nice, short, sharp sessions and leave a little bit of time at the end for questions you might have about what we've covered today. So I see there's one that's popped into the questions tab. Minya, hello. With the letter spacing coming, will there be a setting option on page level to then be overwritten on stack level, so the overall spacing can be set for the entire page first, then adjusted with an individual stack same as font sizes? So basically what she's saying, site-wide design and then stack overrides for letter spacing and things like that.
I can't actually remember, but that's a good question. I'll have to check in with the team. Yeah.
We will come back to you, Minnie, on that one. I would say that it would probably follow our previous kind of method around site-wide design, stack-specific design, but we will definitely confirm for you.
To check it on.
Good question. Thank you for attending the inaugural Rocket Spark Feature Focus, and we will see you all very soon. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jason.
Cheers.